Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Stephen Billings. And with me, as always, is that other guy. He's always wearing white t-shirts.
They can't see it.
Yeah, they can't see it, but he's always wearing white t-shirts.
That's
me
true.
Too. Me too, actually.
I know. Well, you want to talk.
We actually look very similar right now.
I know.
Weird.
It's like we coordinated our outfits without coordinating our outfits. I call it the Arthur Fonzarelli uniform.
It is. Yes.
Which is because in the show Happy Days, Henry Winkler as the Fonz always wore white t-shirts, like year round. He wore white t-shirt, leather jacket, and jeans.
Yes.
And I think like black boots. And that's what he wore like throughout the whole show for the whole seasons. No matter if it was snowing, no matter if it was raining, he always a white t-shirt and a leather jacket.
Leather jacket.
Always.
Yeah.
So that's what I call it.
But that's Andrew Cabral over there.
It is indeed. It is indeed. We're back here once again for episode / spy number 118, and we are in the first week, the first days of October, so you're getting those spooky vibes. We are. It's exciting. It's always exciting this time.
This is my favorite month. This is
October.
October going into, this is favorite time of the year. Fall, love fall time. The weather's perfect for me right now. It could be a little cooler. But right now it's good. It's like where I'm at, it's like in the mid 70s to 80, low 80s. So it's like it's I can wear shirts. In the morning time it's nice and cool. It's like 55 degrees. I love it. And of course, the movies, we start watching scary movies on purpose, more on like with meaning, this time.
I feel like there's this innate feeling to watch horror movies this time of year. I mean, granted, you can watch them all year long.
Yes.
But this time of year, I think the urge, at least for me, gets invested in my being. And it also, when it comes to my collecting habits, I don't know if anyone else out there feels like this, but this time of year, I get the urge to collect more horror films. I don't know if it's the marketing or the psychosomatic things going on out there or the subliminal messaging of ads, but I feel the need to buy more horror movies this time of year.
Okay.
That's just my thing.
That's weird.
It is kind of weird. You know what it used to be back? I say back in the day. By back in the day, I mean a decade ago, which is not that long ago. They would always have horror movie sales during October.
Yeah.
The brick and mortar stores would have them. Best Buys, Targets, Walmart, FYE, whatever other stores out there that people go to. They would always kind of fall into that, and that's kind of like a seasonal thing. Nowadays, not so much. As of last week, most Targets are getting rid of their entire movie sections entirely. I saw a lot of people posting about that online, which is very unfortunate. I mean, for me, Target kind of died years ago when it came to movies, just because my stores just shrunk so much that it wasn't even worth going to anymore. But this time of year, I still hold out hope that somebody's going to have a sweet horror sale going around. I think this week, coincidentally, Warner Brothers has a bit of a horror sale going on with some of their movies in 4Ks. I saw today on Blu-ray.com. So got my juices flowing, got my energy up. I think Best Buy has either price matched them, or maybe they just took the lead, or vice versa. Whatever happened, horror movies are on sale.
So when do you think? So when do you think the newest crop of Universal horror movie physical media will come out at Best Buy? What in the next week or two? Because like every year they re-release them Universal monster movies and they put just new packaging on them almost every year. It's hilarious.
That was to me that was just a personal running joke where every year they would just put those movies out in different packaging.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Walmart had like these glow in the dark slipcovers and stuff.
Yeah, terrible.
And it was just the same movies. And mostly they had them on DVD too, which is probably a bigger insult to many collectors. But I know that they have come out already with them in 4K. And and I see the pattern already. They come out with a 4K box set of the essential Universal horrors, all just the main ones: Frankenstein, Dracula, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man,
the
Mummy, maybe Creature from the Black Lagoon, maybe the Phantom of the Opera, and then later on they're gonna release them individually, of course, and then they'll maybe release 4K sets of the the Frankenstein collection, the
Yeah.
Dracula collection, Mummy collection, just like they did with the Blu-rays. Yeah, I had to buy those movies at least 2 or 3 times over,
Well,
and to the point.
no,
Yeah,
not me. I bought I think it was a steel book and it had like special artwork by like Alan Moore or something like that.
cool, cool.
That's the ones I got, and I've not bought them again. They're Blu-rays. That's fine. That works for me.
Well, what
Um,
I did, like a dummy, I bought the Essential Collection together from Universal. Then I started buying they came out with like I said, the character-centric movie collections individually.
yeah.
Then they came out with them all in a box. So I had to stop buying them individually after I bought like 1 or 2, and then I bought the whole box, and then I had like more Universal horror movies than I knew what to do with. And I think I gave them to like a friend for like a birthday gift or a Christmas gift. I was like, "Hey, I have this
Here's
extra
stuff that I already
Frankenstein
bought
set.
that I
Yeah,
bought for
here you
myself that I'm
go.
just gonna give to you. Here you
Here you go."
go.
I
All
mean,
right. Well, that's fun. Now, and hopefully, I don't shoot myself in the foot here, but you know, whenever we have holidays like this coming up, we of course like to do some themed episodes, and we should be having some. We might do something special, maybe talk some genre stuff, but we do have a cool interview, hopefully coming up for you by the end of the month. We're gonna have, and this is first time announcing it here. The two of the people behind the movie, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, the writer David Stevie, and the star Nathan Basil will be interviewed on an episode of Chasing Labels coming up. So get ready for that. Um,
yeah, I know I'm excited. I'm
yeah,
excited because um I know Steven's been a big fan of that movie for many, many years.
love
He
that
kind of
movie.
introduced me to the movie. I knew of it,
Yeah,
but I had never seen it, and I had no, like, super urge to watch it. Like, it was like, "Oh, I'll get to it when I get to it," and then I met Steven many years ago, and he was a big fan of that movie, and then I watched it and liked it. So, yeah, we'll
yeah.
be diving into that. If you haven't seen that movie yet, Behind the Mask, it's been available on Blu-ray for many years. Um, I think Scream Factory has put out a Blu-ray
Yeah,
of
the
it
most
back in
recent release of
2018.
it was a Blu-ray. Yeah,
Yeah, one of their collector's editions now. It came out in 2018. It's been about 5 years now. For all we know, the track record of Screen Factory slash Shout Studios is they're re-releasing all these in 4K, so it could come out in 4K at any time now.
yeah, maybe.
We'll be talking about some upgrades today as well from them.
Of
So
course,
they
of
just keep
course.
that train rolling.
But yes, so watch out for that. And we should hopefully have that out if everything goes right with schedules and everything. That should be out hopefully by Halloween as a nice little Halloween cap for the month. So all right, well, with all the beginning stuff out of the way, let's get into the release slate, which is pretty hefty this week. Starting off with some small stuff, some single stuff. Second Sight.
Yes.
Second Sight is putting out, of course, a horror movie. That's what they kind of primarily do. And this one, pretty brutal. They're putting out
Graphic.
it's pretty graphic. From director Alexandra Aja, is the cult horror thriller High Tension from 2003. Like I said, brutal fucking horror movie about just this kind of random family out in kind of the middle of nowhere that gets attacked by this just random kind of. There's not really much character development here. It's guy wants two girls come home to see a family, and he just comes into the house and just starts killing everybody. That's essentially the movie.
Yes, yeah, and it's very, very graphic. It was part of the 2000s subgenre of incredibly graphic horror films that were happen to be foreign films. I mean, we've talked a little bit about them. We've gotten into um, some releases that have of those movies that have come out recently. And it's yeah, it's something like, for example, Martyrs. Martyrs is part of that genre.
Yeah.
We've talked about Martyrs when our buddies over at Umbrella released a special edition Blu-ray of that. Um, yeah, I I think it's kind of like, yeah, they call it the torture porn genre of the 2000s. I know there's a lot of talk about it right now because there's a new Saw movie out. and some people are arguing whether Saw counts as a torture porn film or not a torture porn film. You're thinking of movies like Hostel, the Eli
Yeah.
Roth films of that time. Yeah, it was part of. Yeah, I was looking for the specific movement that High Tension was part of, and it's the new French extremity movement or extreme movement of the 2000s. Um, yeah, it's been around since 2003. It's got a pretty reputable, uh, well-known pop reputation for being incredibly graphic, and it is. And that graphicness is only going to be even more visible to us because this is a 4K UHD edition with a 4K remaster of the film. It's going to be an HDR10 presentation, so the high dynamic range, new commentary by Dr. Lindsay Hallam, and we get a new interview with Alexander Haja as well. This is also coming out in a Blu-ray version as well, and I'm assuming it's gonna be one of their big, thick, you know, limited edition sets
Looks like it.
or something like that. Coming out November 27th for anyone interested.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty. I mean, it's not like it's not my favorite of the genre, but it's definitely it's if you're into that, you're into this type of thing. It's pretty rough. It's pretty unwielding.
A
You
lot of
know,
blood, a lot of screaming, a lot of
pretty
violence.
perverse in
Yeah.
way, very perverse in ways. Like,
Some people, yeah, can't stomach those types of things, and I think that's what's kind of unique within the horror genre specifically is there are so many different little avenues you can take. Some horror you may like, some horror you may not like, you know?
yeah,
There's, there's more psychological thriller, there's more brutally graphic, there's all kinds of different avenues one can take within that genre.
yeah.
But High Tension, yeah, it's a graphic film. But moving on from there, let's move on to I guess we can you wanna dive into the Scream Factory, Shout Factory stuff right now?
We can. I mean, it's the most recent thing that was announced, but I
Yeah,
mean,
is there
sure.
anything
There's nothing object. I don't think
individually
there's any other
else?
single offs. I think everything else is a big slate, except for Eureka, which is this one of the smaller ones.
Right, right. So we'll
But
go. Let's since we talked so much about Scream/Shout all the time, let's go into the Shout Studio, Shout Factory, Shout Select,
I don't
Scream
think they know
Factory.
what. I don't think
They got
they
a bunch of different names.
because what's funny is Blu-ray.com still calls it Shout Factory.
Yeah, but if you go to their official stuff, it's all Shout Studios now,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
kind of the umbrella term of their company. But I'm still not used to saying Shout Studios.
yeah,
But we've got ourselves quite a slate.
dude.
Very, very exciting
This
stuff
is.
coming up.
I was saying to Andrew, this is the best Shout Factory slate I've seen in a while, and it's only because some of my favorite movies are in
Yeah,
this slate.
you are biased.
I am biased, but it is one of my favorite slates from them in a long time. Um, yeah, let's run this down. Can't get any better than this.
Yeah, let's start off right at the top.
4K of Point Break, Catherine Bigelow's Point Break, starring Keanu Reeves and of course the man Dalton from Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze. Love this movie. It's a movie I watched as a kid. Why? I don't know, but I did. Watched it a lot, and it's kind of an iconic movie for early Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, Bodie. You know, he plays a guy part of this heist group, and Keanu Reeves is is he like a federal agent of some
He's an
kind?
FBI agent.
FBI agent. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So he goes undercover into this
Surfing
this
gang.
gang of surfboarders.
Yeah.
Who just hang out at the beach, surfboard, but in their spare time they decide to rob banks as the dead presidents. They wear
Yes.
masks as of
Which
dead
is
presidents.
which is another movie, by the way.
Yes, it is. That movie needs a Blu-ray release.
Is that
by
John
the way.
Singleton? Is it John
Oh,
Singleton? No,
I don't
that's not.
think so.
That's not. That's the brothers.
Is
It's
that the
two
Hughes brothers?
Hughes brothers. That's it.
It's yeah, but in Point Break, and what ends up happening is Keanu kind of becomes friends with the
Yeah.
Swayze character, so he's conflicted as to, busting
And
them and all
well,
this
then he
kind of stuff.
also falls. He's in a relationship with a girl close to the group.
Yeah, Lori Petty, Lori Petty's in that.
Yeah.
Is that character, and she's the one who kind of like kind of his gateway into that surfer culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is a touchstone. I know people grew up with it, people love it. I mean, I've seen it many, many times. I owned it on DVD. I owned it on Blu-ray. That Blu-ray that has currently been floating around for many, many years is so ancient that this is one of the most welcome upgrades that I could possibly wonder. That Blu-ray is from 2008, and it was
Mm.
called the Pure Adrenaline Edition. And then they re-released this and repackaged it so many times over the years, but it's been the same exact disc. So we're
Yeah.
getting a nice 4K now. There was a remake of this a few years ago, back in 2015. No
God
one really
damn.
liked it. I've never met anyone who's liked it or
Yeah.
talked about it really. I just
Well,
bring it up as kind of a
well,
curiosity.
and they remade it before that too. It's called Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah, and Fast and Furious took the same exact plot with Paul Walker and uh,
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. I don't know why I was blanking on Vin
Vin
Diesel's
Diesel's the
name.
Bodhi character. Paul
Yeah,
Walker's the Keanu Reeves.
but that's street racing. That's not surfing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's interesting how that premise has been taken so many times, and I mean, it was done for the movie Avatar.
Yeah. You could say that. Yeah.
Like the Sam Worthington character was supposed to infiltrate the Na'vi and like
Then
learn
he
their
becomes
culture, learn their
friends with him.
secrets.
He like
You
gets
know,
conflicted because he sees the
because because he loves them. He
ah.
becomes ingratiated with
It's a
them.
little different, of course, than Point Break
Obviously, there's
because
a lot more going on, but I'm just
there's a
saying that
yeah, it
that basic
skews more
tenement
gray.
premise
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah.
But this is, like I was saying, a welcome upgrade. I'm just fascinated by how this is going to look, how this is going to blow away the old Blu-ray. What type of special features we're going to get? We're going to get new special features. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, um, Catherine Bigelow, would be nice to get something from her. I mean, Keanu Reeves is having a resurgence in his career.
Yeah.
Lori Petty, I know has been doing still working, and I know she's been doing a lot of conventions over the years. She came to my local convention many
Nice.
years ago. Of course, too, she's been in a bunch of things. If you know her, you've seen her. If you see her, you've known her from things. She was in Tank Girl of all
Yeah.
movies. But yeah, Point Break, right at the top of the list. But
Mm.
right below it, we've got some other things.
Oh yes. Another one that I've been asking for. I've brought it up many times on this show. The Bruce Willis starring Last Man Standing, directed by Walter Hill. It's that Walter Hill movie I wanted in the set so bad, but they did. I guess this is why they couldn't do it, because it's Shot Factory's got its hands on it. I love this movie. It's supposed to be kind of a reinterpretation of Yojimbo, the Kurosawa film, and you got Christopher Walken plays the bad guy. It's just one of them kind of shoot 'em up movies that's just so fun. Set in a Western atmosphere with that kind of like, kind of John Woo gunplay style. It's fun. Um, Bruce Willis in his prime. I think this was like right around Pulp Fiction time is when this came out. But yeah, love the movie.
Yeah, Steven has brought it up so many times.
Yeah.
It came out in 1996. Going back and watching Bruce Willis in the 90s, really his prime.
Yeah.
As just a great
Kind
actor.
of he could do anything. He was doing these types of movies, but then he was doing like The Kid, or what is it called? The Kid.
Oh yeah, he wasn't the kid. He was doing everything in the 90s.
And he was doing comedies. He was doing what's the one with Matthew Perry?
Was that
Whole Nine
Yards?
Yards. Yeah.
He was also doing wasn't he in Nobody's Fool?
Yeah,
Paul
Nobody's
Newman?
Fool. Yeah.
Also
That was a small part, but I mean,
yeah, he was, small parts, big parts. He was doing every part. Of course, he did.
Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon, big action movie. But he was also doing, The Fifth Element, sci-fi stuff.
Sci-fi.
I mean, they were still doing the sequels to the Die Hard franchise.
Well, the third one's really the only one he did at this time. I think the first two were, the second one I think was like 1990, and then like the third one was like many years later. I think it was like 96 or 97, which is it's kind of my favorite actually. The third one.
Oh, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah, I love that movie. With Sam Jackson as his partner in that one. But yeah, this was a fun time for Bruce Willis. A lot. Oh, another one we didn't bring up. The one he did with Zemeckis. The one with Meryl Streep. with where they die and then he brings them back, or God, what is it called?
Oh no.
The one where it's the you don't know what I'm talking about? The one where it's got something Death Becomes Her. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay. My goodness.
Death
Yes,
Becomes
Death
Her.
Becomes Her. Of course, we didn't even mention The Sixth Sense, which was
Yeah,
99.
yeah. The
I
night
mean, that's
at the
kind of
end
a
of the
big
'90s
one.
there. Yeah.
Kind of a big one.
Fucking
Um,
run of Bruce Willis movies. He did a movie called Mercury Rising that had Haley Joel Osment in it.
yes,
That
he
was
did.
pretty
Have you ever
good
seen
too.
Have you ever seen 12 Monkeys, the Terry
Of
Gilliam movie?
course. It's one
Yeah.
of the only Terry Gilliam movies I like.
Yeah. Of course, Pulp Fiction, he was in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was just great at the time, and this movie's right in the midst of all of that. So I'm actually glad this is getting some
He
type of
he
release
did
because
a
I don't
cool
think
movie
it.
too, with Billy Bob Thornton. It's called Bandits.
Oh, yes, yes,
That's
yes.
pretty good too. He had so many good movies, man.
Okay, so, but the one that,
Yeah,
uh move on to yeah, moving
we
on to
gotta
the next
speed
one. I don't
this
my
up.
mind
We
was
gotta speed this up.
yeah,
Um,
so the next one, we're getting a 4K re-release of The Dead Zone, which for those of you probably already have the Blu-ray in your collection like I do.
yep.
So, there you go,
Don't
and
need to buy
that's
it again.
don't need to buy it again. And yeah, these are all coming out in December, by the way. This entire slate is the December slate from Shout Factory. Next up is a big, big upgrade.
Oh yeah,
This is JFK,
buying the
the
fuck out
Oliver
of this.
Stone film. This is surprising to me because I thought that Warner Brothers would hold on to this and re-release it themselves in 4K for their 100th anniversary. Because they've re-released this so many times in so many different special editions, like gigantic box sets and all kinds of stuff, commemorative editions. But our buddy Justin Beam from Reverend Entertainment did all of these special features for this release. So he also did all the special features for another Oliver Stone film, Natural Born Killers, which is which also got a 4K release that I think's come out already, maybe
Yeah,
come out recently.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's JFK. For those of you who've never seen the movie JFK, it's Oliver Stone at his most political conspiracy theorist self. you
yeah.
know, it's him pulling out all the conspiracy theories for the JFK assassination.
I
This
mean,
has
he's
oh
still
yeah,
like
that's still
talking.
his thing.
Well, I mean, he's still talking. I think like he did like a documentary. I think recently where it's like, you know, however many years later, kind of looking back at this again with like new lens. Like I believe let me look it up and see if I can find out what it's called.
Yeah, he's done a lot of documentaries over the last, I would say, decade or so, and that seems to be where he's put a lot of his efforts into. He's only done a few narrative films. He did that movie Savages, which not a lot of people
I don't
liked.
like that. I don't like that
I
movie
I've watched it once and I own it, and I never find myself wanting to revisit it.
because it's not good.
Yeah, and then didn't he do the Snowden movie? I
Yes, he
believe that
did.
was
Yeah,
him. Had a small part in that movie by one Nicolas Cage, because they had worked together on the World Trade Center movie, which
yeah,
he made like 5 years after 9/11 happened,
yeah,
which seemed a little too soon to be making a
yeah.
9/11 centric film
So
by
he
many.
yeah he did that Snowden movie in 2016, and then after that, he's done a slew of documentaries. He did the Putin interviews, which is 4 episodes. What I was talking about, the JFK revisited through the Looking Glass, came out in 2021, and that's a 2 hour long revisit there. And then he did another JFK thing, a mini series called JFK Destiny Betrayed. It's a 4 episode miniseries. Then he did something else that's came out last year called Nuclear Now, another documentary. So he's been on a kick of documentaries
Yeah,
lately.
he had a whole docu series, like a history compendium docu series called like I think it was like History of the World according to Oliver Stone, or Oliver Stone's History of the World,
Yeah,
um, which you could buy on Blu-ray. I watched a few parts of that. I watched the ones he did about World War II. I watched the one he did about the JFK era, really. And it's him narrating and him going over like history. It's like a history documentary. So if you want to kind of get more introspective about what Oliver Stone thinks about certain historical events in the United States, in the history of the United States, that's been available for many years. I've actually been wanting it just to add it to my collection. Um, Yeah, Oliver Stone, an interesting individual, very interesting career. And this movie JFK is very much at the center of that. I've
Oh
seen this
yeah,
movie several times, and I think it's one of his best movies.
it's
Kevin
yeah.
Costner, and back in '91 when he was at the prime of his, you know, uh, career, spotlight on his career was never shinier than back then. Um, yeah, this comes with 2 cuts of the movie, the theatrical cut and the director's cut, which is much longer. Um, yeah, this is a monumental re-release. It's also coming in a very thick, like, collector's edition box set as well. So, hopefully that's gonna have some extra goodies in it. But moving on from there, we've got, um, we have Clue that's getting a 4K re-release. Nice. That's the, it's how do you describe the movie Clue? It's like a
Uh,
whodunit
it's a yeah. I mean,
board game adaptation.
I mean, you described it exactly what it is. Yeah, I mean, and down to the, you know, at the end, there's like multiple endings. Like it's fun. It does that whole kind of thing where it plays into the board game aspect
Yeah,
of,
great cast in
you
that
know,
movie as well. It's been available on Blu-ray for many, many years, but this will be another welcomed upgrade. Next, we've got a movie called Showdown with the Grand, which I believe is a newish film starring like Terrence Howard and Dolph Lundgren with what I can only assume is a wig on the
no,
cover
that's
of the
his real
box.
hair. Yeah,
I can only. What- then after that, we've got the Ring collection in 4K UHD. It's got the Ring 2, which includes both the theatrical and unrated cuts, and then it has the movie Rings, which is the third film.
so
These are,
they
of course, the American
yeah
movies. These aren't
yeah
the
because
Japanese ones.
the Rangoon, it was put out by Arrow. They have the
Yes, the
collection
Ringu
there.
collection.
Yeah,
They put out both the didn't they put out both the Ringu collection and the Grudge collection as well?
they did.
Arrow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Next we've got The Kill Room, which I think is another um
newish.
newish film from 2023 with a cast that you would have sworn this would have been in the movie theater. I don't remember this coming out to the movie theater at all. With Uma Thurman, Joe Manganiello, and Samuel L. Jackson. This is a 4K UHD release as well.
They got the rights to write some rights to some things that looks like they wouldn't typically put out, but maybe they had to put them out to get some of this other stuff.
Well,
Who knows?
speaking of which, they're putting out Shaun the Sheep, the complete collection, or the complete series.
That's
Um, n-
interesting.
yeah, and this is the series that ran from 2007 to 2021. It's the spinoff of Wallace and Gromit. I love stop motion animation, and you add some claymation in there as well. That's just awesome stuff. Whether it's Wallace and Gromit or Shaun the Sheep, they made like 2 Shaun the Sheep movies, didn't they? Like
Yeah, they
theatrical
made two
movies.
two movies. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, they were pretty good too. Um,
Y-
they've been putting out them Leica movies as well on
yes, they have.
4K, so maybe there's some kind of connection there in some way. I know it's a different studio, but
Right, right.
yeah.
But next up is a movie near and dear to my heart, Steven. That is The Man in the Iron Mask. In 4K UHD, they already put out I believe, a Shout Select Collector's Edition a few years ago. So this is another welcome upgrade for me, because I never bought that Blu-ray, and I'm glad I waited. By waited, I mean like I was just indifferent about buying it, so I never did. so, so now we got
It wasn't on purpose,
it wasn't on
really.
purpose. It was an accident. It was an accident.
Yeah.
But this movie, um, yeah, talk about a cast. My goodness, movie came out in 1998, right after the smash mega hit of the Titanic. So Leonardo DiCaprio was a mega star now, and he's in this movie with Jeremy Irons, John Malkovich, Gerard Depardieu, and Gabriel Byrne. And it is the adaptation of The Man in the Iron Mask by Alexandre Dumas. And yeah, what a movie! I watched this the first time I ever watched this movie was on an airplane
Mm.
in the 90s, and I just unapologetically loved it ever since. Don't ask me
I
why.
wish I could say I've seen a movie on an airplane,
You've
but I've
never been on an airplane.
never been on an airplane.
Well, they only show movies on certain flights, like
Yeah.
I guess long flights or international flights, and they show this movie. Um, I don't know. I've always loved the story of the Three Musketeers. There's been so many adaptations of them over the years. We've talked about a few releases here on the show, but yeah, I'm super excited about this release. I've never owned the movie in my collection at all. No VHS, no DVD, no Blu-ray. Maybe 4K is now the time for me. Um, but
Do it.
moving past that, Steven, it's got to be that time again.
Oh,
If it's a month,
it's Shaw Brothers time.
I didn't think they could do it again, but man, we're rolling. In December, they will be They will be releasing Shaw Brothers Classics Volume 4. This, I believe, will be the total of 5 Shaw Brothers movies.
There's 12.
But no, 5 Shaw Brothers box sets.
Oh,
But there's
you
12
said, but
movies in the set.
yeah, there's 12 movies
Yeah.
in the set. Yeah.
So we've got The Rebel Intruders, Two Champions of Shaolin, Legend of the Fox, Black
This is
Lizard.
volume 4, by the way.
Yeah, this is volume 4.
You
But
said
they
5.
released. Well, they released.
Oh, you're talking
one
about
that,
that other set with
yeah, they released
yeah.
another Shaw Brothers set that didn't
Gotcha.
have a volume number attached to it. So I meant just in terms
It
of.
was linked to 2 actors.
Yeah, but they were Shaw Brothers movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, Black Lizard, House Traps, Masked Avengers, The Sword Stained with Royal Blood, Five Element Ninjas, Shaolin Prince, Shaolin Intruders, Holy Flame of the Martial World, Opium and the Kung Fu Master. So we've got another 12 movie box set.
Wow.
Coming out December 19th.
Opium and the Kung Fu Master. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't
So
wait.
this-
That's good. That one I have to watch.
This is their early 80s stuff. And if you know anything about Shaw Brothers, when the 80s kind of came around, they just got weirder and weirder. Just more supernatural, more magic-y,
More drugs, apparently.
more yeah, more opium.
Dude's taking opium and fucking doing some kung fu. So he doesn't feel anything.
I guess so. So we don't know anything about the special features of any of these releases yet. We could assume for at least the Dead Zone and probably for Man of the Iron Mask, and they're just gonna port over the ones that they put out already on their earlier editions. Like I said, JFK is fascinating to me. Point Break is also fascinating to me in terms of what they're going to do with special features. But yeah, that's the entire slate that they dropped today on a bright Monday afternoon / morning / day. Damn, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in.
It is. That, of course, didn't have time to watch any of these, but you know, like a lot of this we actually have seen. So, you know, and I think a lot of us have seen a lot of these things. I mean, it's some pretty well known things here, and of course some re-releases. So, all right, well, let's move on from there. Eureka, you want to do Eureka?
Sure. Eureka has a much smaller slate. Thank goodness. I'm feeling a little winded after that. Studio set. So we've got Eureka's got 3 movies. The Fall of Echo Castle, Casino Raiders, and the Police Story Trilogy is getting a standard re-release. So they have released the Police Story Trilogy in 4K in a box set, which we covered here on the show a while ago. So they're releasing that set in a standard set. And it'll have Police Story 2, and Police Story 3 / Super Cop, depending on where you live in the world. And yeah, it's coming with I believe 3 discs. 3 discs with all the special features and stuff. Yeah. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for their releases.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I did get to see Casino Raiders. It's actually available if you look on YouTube. You can find it. It's one of those like Hong Kong action movies, but also having a gambling plot line in it. I want to say the early 90s. I think this came out in 1989. Oh, sorry, I was wrong.
That's a good year.
Good year. And then so it's getting so a con artist gambler is the con artist gambler Crab, who was portrayed by Andy Lau, gets out of prison and joins his childhood friend and partner Sam, who is portrayed by Alan Tam, to work for a casino magnate to expose a group of Japanese card players who have cheated their way to a fortune. The pair find themselves in the crosshairs of the Yakuza, leading to a series of escalating acts of violence that test the bonds of loyalty to their limit. When their luck runs out, they make one final gamble, a game of poker with the highest of stakes. Sounds exactly what Casino Raiders title would sound like. Filled with surprise right to its final moments, Eureka Classics is proud to present Casino Raiders, a shockingly violent tale of brotherhood and sacrifice, and one of the most unique thrillers of the golden age of Hong Kong cinema, basically the mid to late 80s. Um, yeah, I would recommend this movie if you like Hong Kong action films of that time. This fits right along with them. The Fall of Echo Castle, I know is streaming, supposed to be streaming on Tubi, but I couldn't find it on there when I searched for it. Um, but I believe it is directed by Kinji Fukasaku, who I believe directed Battle Royale.
Yes.
So the that's the main thing that has me intrigued. Um,
Also
so
has Toshiro Fume in it as well, and Sonny
so see
Chiba.
that also got me.
I just got you with them two guys. Yeah.
No, that's all you have to say. Um, so that's it for Eureka. Let's move over to Arrow. Yes, that just seems logical.
Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All
So
right.
we
Well,
are on Arrow. Yeah, Steven, you take over the Arrow because
Arrow.
we got a lot here.
Um, so I kind of feel like some people might be really upset with this
This entire slate, or just part
almost
of it.
almost this entire slate. I wouldn't say everything. I think a couple of these I think people would be okay with. Um, but there was this other company called Imprint that put out this big Warrior set that people paid a lot of money for,
I'm
and
one of them.
now it's coming out on 4K from Arrow. uh, and it looks nice. Of course, it's coming with the 2 cuts that everybody wanted as well. Walter Hill once again showing up. Yeah, I mean we've talked about the Warriors before. Great film, great '80s kind of punky kind of movie. Um, yeah, the Warriors. Talk about
Yeah,
it.
the one thing about this is coming with an exclusive new 4K restoration of the theatrical and director's cut of the film, which I obviously, since it's exclusive, was not what was used for the
Sure.
imprint set that we just talked about. I would have to do a side by side comparison of extra features to see what is included, what's not included with the imprint set. As someone who bought the imprint set, I did not see this coming.
Yeah, it felt like this release that release was so definitive and like that it was gonna be hard for anybody else to like get their hands on it because it took so long to get that, and then now we have another one that's
Right. It
supposed to be potentially better.
we've got ourselves a bit of a quandary when it comes to, you know, what do you do if you already own that other set? Do you sell it? Do you
Yeah, I guess that's the
keep it
way
and
to
buy this
go.
one, or do you just
Good luck getting somebody to buy it if this is out though now.
do you get yeah, I'll say do you just buy both? Whatever you do as a collector. I do want to mention that buddy Justin Beam once again did do a special feature for this through his company, Reverend Entertainment. He did the interview with the editor Billy Weber. He did an interview. The interview on this disc is from his company, that special feature. Also, I believe our friend Scott Saslow did some work on this as well. Um, and I believe I've got to look up on his website to see what he actually did. Um, Good thing I have it saved in my computer here. So yeah, Scott Saslow did the layout and the booklet design for this release here, and he also worked on another set we're going to talk about in like a minute. So
Sure.
I'll keep that page up. So let's move on from there because the more I look at it, the more I get upset with myself. This actually is coming with but it is also coming with a couple of different cover art editions. Like there's an Arrow Store exclusive cover art that has more of the original like theatrical poster cover art. Then there's the one that has this greenish, like it looks like a locker from a subway.
Yeah.
Um, or train station or whatever, and that's the more regular edition. It is coming with a Blu-ray counterpart as well, if you're not into the whole 4K thing yet or ever at all. But it's the Warriors, man. I think that's kind of an essential for anyone's collection. I think at this point, whatever version you get of the movie. But yeah, what's the next thing we got on our list here?
The other big one I think that is very controversial, we'll go ahead and start talking about, is the Child's Play collection. Chucky, all, what is it, 7 films in his franchise? I believe it's 7.
Yeah, there's 7 movies in this set, plus an 8th film, which is a documentary.
Yeah.
There's also a reboot film that's not included in this set, and of course, there's a TV series that is currently airing, which is not included in the set either. Yeah, the big initially people were like, "Oh wow, Arrow's putting out a Chucky set," because they teased it to us like the day before this was announced, and then it was announced, and I think initially everybody was like, "Oh wow, and Arrow's doing a 4K UHD Chucky set." I'm so excited. And then you
A little
begin to notice
closer.
the Achilles heel. There's an Achilles heel in this set which damned it for many people who got very upset. And that is the first disc in the set, which is the original Child's Play film, is not a 4K UHD disc. It's not a 4K UHD edition. It is just a regular Blu-ray. The reason being rights issues. Damn
Mm.
those rights issues,
Didn't
Steven.
see that coming.
Didn't see that coming. So the original film in the Chucky franchise is owned by MGM, at least here stateside. So every time you need to put this movie out on Blu-ray, if you're a boutique label, you gotta talk to MGM. But apparently, I heard through the grapevine that Warner Brothers may own the 4K rights for it in the UK or Region B land. So they obviously couldn't make any type of deal with Warner Brothers or whoever owns the rights. So what you get here is an older Blu-ray disc of the release of the movie. You don't get any of the exclusive features that were on the Shout Factory 4K UHD edition, which came out recently. So if you have that disc and you plan on getting this, you may want to hold on to it. But here is another kicker. For those of you who have the 4K UHD editions from Scream Factory slash Shout Factory, all of the special features transfer over to the releases on here. So you're not really getting anything in terms of on disc content. I think there's maybe one special feature that's on this disc that's on this release that's not on the Shout Factory releases, and I think it was an intro done by Jennifer Tilly on either Bride of Chucky or Seed of Chucky, and I don't think that's on any of the Shout Factory release sets. Um, Yeah, I'm looking right now. Yeah, it's either one of those 2 releases, and yeah, so that's the only release. So if you have those releases from Screen Factory, technically, you don't really need this release, and if anything, technically, this is a lesser release because it doesn't have the 4K UHD edition of Child's Play, which is the first film and what is probably considered many people's favorites.
Yeah.
Um, at least for me, I consider it to be very, very good. I've only seen the first 3, and I've seen Bride and I've seen Seed of Chucky. They are all streaming online somewhere. I think Peacock has some of them. It's weird the way the distribution works for a lot of horror franchises. It kind of bounces around for some, and that's the way it is for Chucky. Um, yeah, it's like I said, MGM owns the rights to the first film, and then I think Universal owns the rights to 2, 3, and Bride of Chucky, but then Seed of Chucky is some other company, and then now Universal owns the rights to the rest of them. After that, it's very weird. I was looking that up the other day, but yeah, this set, it all depends on how you feel as a collector. But it is a bit of a lesser thing than I think people initially thought it was going to be. Once again, it's coming with 2 different types of cover art designs and stuff. I believe there's a store exclusive that I think is blue, and the regular one is this bright gaudy yellow, which a lot of people are not happy with the cover art either.
I was gonna
So people are very
say
picky. Yeah.
first of all, it's yeah, who cares? Um, Second, I mean, it is kind of weird that their idea of an exclusive artwork is to just change the color to blue. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. But we've got another. Oh, and I also want to mention that Scott Saslow, he did the layout and booklet design for this edition as well.
Yes.
Um, and I think we've got. Hold on, let me look over because I know Kat Ellinger did something for one of these movies, but there's a lot of special features to go through on here. Um, so you want to move on to the next thing while I look this up,
Yeah.
or
So
yeah,
The third set that we have here is another group of westerns by Italian filmmakers. It's kind of been a series. We've had two other sets. Don't ask me to remember what they're all called. I think one was called like Blood and Blood Money.
One was Vengeance Trails,
Yes,
which
I
is the
have
first
that
box
one.
set,
Yeah,
and the second one was called Blood Money, which was
yeah,
volume 2 of these Italian spaghetti westerns. Not even Italian, I'll just call them spaghetti westerns.
yeah.
Um, Also the Kat Ellinger thing on the Child's Play set is I think she wrote something for the booklet in that set, but she also did something for this set as well.
Yeah.
She has an audio commentary on the last film, which is the Lucio Fulci one.
Yeah.
Um,
So the name of this set is Savage Guns for Classic Westerns. And the set includes films. Disc one's got I Want Him Dead, which I love that title. Disc two, El Puro. Disc three's got Wrath of the Wind. Ooh, that's a cool title too. And disc four, Four of the Apocalypse. So
Yeah, four of the Apocalypse is the Lucio Fulci film.
yeah.
Also, when you're looking these films up on Letterboxd or even IMDb, these titles will not give you any results. When I had to look these up, it was such a pain to do so, because they have alternate titles, because that's just the way things were back then. So we've got, yeah, El Puro is El Puro, but um, it's kind of really annoying.
Okay.
Yeah, El Puro and Wrath of the Wind you can find, but they may be under their Italian title names. Like
The
that's the way you
reward
may have to look them
the
up.
the reward's yours is the other title for El Puro, I
Yes,
believe.
yes.
So
Um,
yeah.
I got to see I Want Him Dead, and I got to see Four of the Apocalypse. Four of the Apocalypse, I think, was very, very good. Like, like damn good.
Yeah.
It's a spaghetti western, but it's almost like a deconstructed version of the spaghetti western. It's not the typical, like, if you're thinking Sergio Leone, if you're thinking even like Django, it reminded me more of like Django with Franco Nero than anything. But a really, really good film. I was very, very surprised. So for those of you who don't know what the premise of that movie is, came out in 1975. Um, Four petty criminals, three men and a woman, wander through the trackless terrain of the Wild West, Utah, and are hounded by a sadistic bandit. And that's technically the premise or part of the movie. But yeah, it is basically four people wandering through the desert the whole time, which doesn't sound exciting to you, but it's like gritty and dark and bleak, which I guess if you're in the mood for something like that, or if you like things like that, this movie will, feed that need. Um, but it's really, really good. Good character stuff, dark, gritty, spaghetti western, well acted. I love the setting, the tone of it all. Um, yeah, really, really good. If you're a Fulci fan, it feels so different from other things I think Fulci's known for. When I think Fulci, I think of horror. I don't think of
Sure.
spaghetti western. And we got a spaghetti western.
Except for the fact that I think he's had a movie in every set in every one
I
of these
think he
sets.
has. Yeah, I think you're right.
I know he at least has one in the first set. So
Yeah, so I Want Him Dead is more straightforward spaghetti western fare. After his sister is kidnapped and murdered, a gunslinger plans for vengeance, involving assassinating two generals to prolong the Civil War. So it's a revenge movie,
I
uh,
love it.
through the prism of the spaghetti western, which happens a lot in that genre. It happens a lot in that genre. So those are the two I got to see from there. Um, I really, I hate myself for missing out on the boat for the Vengeance Trails box set, the first one, because
Yeah.
there is a standard edition of that now that you can get for pretty affordable. But there's also a limited edition one that which came with a poster and a booklet, which of course is what I want, but of course is now out of print, so you got to pay way more than you want for it. That's just me having an aside about, s- you know,
Are
being
you
mad at
okay?
eBay, being mad at eBay.
Are you okay, Andrew?
I'm all
Are you
right.
okay? All right.
I'm all right. I should have bought it when I had the chance. But I didn't. But also another tie to our podcast for this set and the other sets. Well, um, our buddy Michael McKenzie was a producer on these sets, and he was a guest on our podcast once upon a time. And he's produced a bunch of things from Arrow, but these have been kind of things he's been having in the works for years. He posted some stuff on his Facebook page about how just derelict the elements were for at least one of these films, and how the restoration was a true miracle. I think it was for El Puro. El Puro, yeah, the the print that they had of it was entirely pink, and they had to restore that thing with full colors back again. And he did a before and after look picture shot of it, and it looks incredible. Like the work they did on this must have been so tiresome, so thorough. So yeah, a lot of work goes into these sets, and these are cool sets, really cool sets. I really
Yeah.
like them.
I like the idea of the
I like the yeah
kind of
the idea
the
behind them.
unknown spaghetti westerns, kind of lesser known ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but we've got I think what else is left? What else is left for
The
us to talk
last one
about?
we have is this is now, I don't know that Arrow's put this out before. I know I have a imprint release of this, but
Ah,
that's The Day of the Locusts.
yes, Day of the Locust. I had heard of this movie for many years, had never seen it up until now. Finally got a chance to watch it because of this. Directed by John Schlesinger, who did Marathon Man, um, as well as uh, didn't he do what other movie did he do? Steven, my mind's blanking.
Shit. Don't ask me this.
Oh, they don't ask you the easy questions.
What?
Maybe it's not. Midnight
Easy.
Cowboy. Holy goodness. Um,
Shit.
that was the big one that I forgot. Marathon Man, Midnight Cowboy. Um,
Can't
those are the two ones that come to
throw me
mind.
curveballs like that. Like
I know.
naming directors' filmographies. Like, no.
Quick, name every director ever. Um, but
Ah,
I do like John Schlesinger. He did Sunday Bloody Sunday, Far from the Madding Crowd, Billy Liar's another one of his films, which I think has a Blu-ray release from Kino. I think Kino has it. It's in one of their sales currently, as of right now. But he also did The Falcon and the Snowman, which is another one that's kind of
I
underrated.
have that one.
I have a
Yeah.
DVD of that. I gotta
I
get
have a
that Blu-ray.
Blu-ray. I have a
Mm,
Blu-ray of that.
nice, nice one up me.
Yeah, I got
Um,
you.
but great director. And this film is really interesting. For those of you who have seen The Day of the Locust, it's a fascinating film. Um, yeah, so painter Todd Hackett, working in the art department of a movie studio during the 1930s golden age of Hollywood, falls in unrequited love with aspiring starlet Faye Greener, portrayed by Karen Black. He competes for her affections against other men, a pair of cowboys, um, and a forlorn accountant portrayed by Donald Sutherland. As Faye's career fails to take her beyond roles as an extra, her life becomes increasingly desperate, and her relationships with men take a darker turn, reaching fever pitch at a red carpet movie premiere that explode into barbaric chaos. This movie is fascinating because I initially thought it was going to be a movie about like the golden age of Hollywood, or just a critique of Hollywood in general, which in part it is, but it's so much more a character film about relationships and failed relationships and toxic relationships and doom relationships and all kinds of things. That's the one thing with John Schlesinger. His films are all, underneath the surface. They're all thematically deep stuff, like with Midnight Cowboy. Midnight Cowboy is not just about two, you know, impoverished guys living in New York. It's about so much more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah. So that's what I really got from The Day of the Locust. It is a long film though. Movie's like 2 hours and
It's
25 minutes.
yeah, it's
Not
up
a
there.
short
Yeah.
one. Not a short one. But it's really really good. Really really good. So I'm excited about this release because I don't own it. It's getting a new 2K restoration by Arrow themselves, as well as a brand new audio commentary, brand new appreciation of the film. It's getting a nice release here. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting this film. Probably this will be like a Barnes and Noble 50% off sale type of buy for me, most definitely. But that is it from the Arrow slate. They hit the December releases hard. They ended their year pretty strong.
Hmm.
With bright, big name titles. Um, but I did want to clear up a lot of the stuff that were kind of falling through the cracks with these releases. Um, but yeah, moving on
All
from
right.
Arrow, Steven, we've
Well,
gotta I think we've gotta hit the bigger slate.
well,
Oh,
lastly, the even bigger slate
here we
um,
go. This is the one that
is
nearly broke my weekend. Um,
yeah, yeah. Well,
this
it came right at the end of the weekend. I
Yes,
mean,
but you know me, I had to hit the ground running, hit the ground hard with these. So yes, this dropped October 1st, which happened to be a Sunday, which is an odd day for a movie announcements, especially from Vinegar Syndrome. But yeah, they announced their slate. Plus, we got partner label stuff, and we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Let's get through it, or let's go through it. Really,
all
uh,
right. Well,
what do we got?
starting with proper vs popular. I don't know how popular these.
Popular and proper.
And
Both
yeah,
both both work in this situation.
yeah. So first we have a film from 1970, Mark of the Devil, coming in 4K. I hear this is it's a little bit of a culty one. What do you hear about Mark of the Devil? Have you watched it?
I did get to see Mark of the
Oh
Devil.
man.
So I only got to see about 2 of these releases from Vinegar Syndrome proper, and then I spent the rest of my time trying to get into the partner labels because that's where the gold is, really.
Mm,
So I watched this release, one, 'cause it has Udo Kier in it, a young Udo
ooh.
Kier, who, of course, was in both, Flesh for Frankenstein and what was it, Blood for Dracula?
Yeah.
But those ones were later on than this, so he's even younger in this. Smaller role, and he looks so young, I almost didn't recognize him. But it's another movie dealing with, um, uh, European witch trials. You know, with the Witchfinder, like the Witchfinder General with Vincent Price and those movies like that, where people are working for the church trying to find witches and basically just accusing women because they're misogynistic pieces of crap. And religion is misogynistic, very much so in many of its aspects. So this movie very much leans into that. Like it's a yeah, it's not a movie for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that. There's a lot of torture happening, a lot of screaming, a lot of violence happening specifically towards women, so it may turn a lot of people off because of that. It was very difficult to watch at times, and for a movie from, I wanna say, what'd you say, Steven,
19
1970?
yeah.
It was damn graphic, pretty damn graphic.
Well,
Um,
I know something that'll make you feel better.
Go on.
A film from 1980. It's also in 4K. Mother's Day. How about Mother's Day? You hear anything about that?
No, but I did hear a lot of people buzzing about it. It is directed by Charles Kaufman, but not Charlie Kaufman. At least I believe it's not. Um, yeah, apparently it's a slasher film. Um, it
Every
says,
year, it says
yeah,
every year, former college roommates Jackie and Abby and Trina take turns organizing a mystery getaway for the three of them. This year, it's Jackie's turn, and she's chosen a weekend of camping in New Jersey. Why? Um, Deep Barrens. In New Jersey's Deep Barrens, despite ominous warnings from a local shopkeeper, well, that's normal in these type of movies. It always makes me think of Cabin in the Woods. They hit all the points, and the shopkeeper that tries to keep them away. Actually, in that movie, is like, actually go over there because we need to kill you to ritually sacrifice you. Um, but despite the ominous warnings from the local shopkeeper, the young women set off into the wilderness with high spirits, and it's not long before they're skinny dipping in the nearby lake and generally making the most of the great outdoors, blissfully unaware that they're being watched. As the friends settle in for the night, they're suddenly attacked by a pair of sadistic brothers, Ike and Adley, who drag them into the sleeping in their sleeping bags back to their uh, dis,
dilapidated.
dilapidated house in the middle of woods to meet Mother,
Oh,
who
goodness.
who turns out to be even more sick and twisted than they are. It sounds almost sounds like a Texas
Yeah, I was
Chainsaw
gonna say, this sounds
Massacre.
exactly like Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
or
but
any
yeah,
other
you get the
type of movie
point.
like that.
You get the idea.
It's an 80s slasher film with people going into the woods and getting kidnapped and probably murdered. I mean, that seems to be the premise of many of these 80s slashers. Um, yeah, very interesting that a bunch of these are getting 4K releases this time around. Um,
Nothing surprises me. They
yeah, I
make
guess so.
4Ks of everything.
You know what's a great title though, Steven?
Tell me.
Bloodsucking Freaks.
Fucking love that title.
They took it. They took all of the good titles. So, Bloodsucking Freaks came out in 1976. I hate when sixes almost look like eights. Really screws with my head,
Mm,
especially with my vision.
sounds like an eye problem. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it is. I do have. Yeah, I do have an eye problem. I'm at the eye doctor
Well,
every
you
6 weeks,
I was
so
gonna
it's a
say
problem.
you're always you're always having to put drops in your eyes.
Oh yeah, I do have very chronic dry eyes. So Sardu, with the help of his dwarf servant Ralphus, these names are amazing,
Ralphus.
operates New York's most controversial theater, Sardu's Theater of the Macabre, where each performance is an expertly staged display of gruesome acts of torture. Oh, so live action snuff films, I guess.
Cool.
Divisive as his take on entertainment might be, arrogant theater critic Creasy Silo is having none of it and makes it his mission to put an end to Sardu's grisly dramas. However, what audience and critics alike do not realize is that each of these shocking shows is completely real, with innocent nude women being maimed and murdered live on stage. When Sardu sets his eyes on beautiful ballerina Natasha, he's immediately smitten and determines that she must, quote unquote, star in his next production, where whether she wants to or not, and that her stage partner will be none other than Creasy Silo. Um, this sounds like such a sleazy movie.
That sounds a little bit like All About Evil.
Guess who distributed this movie, Steven? It's in the next
Um,
paragraph on Vinegar Syndrome's website.
shit.
Oh, you're not on
Uh,
their website, are you?
no. Well, I am, but I don't know. I see one paragraph.
It was distributed by Troma.
Oh, well, cool.
Yeah,
Sounds
so that makes a
sounds
lot of
sounds
sense.
sounds about right. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because the next movie was also, I believe, distributed by Troma as well. It's called Rabid Grannies. What a title! What a
They're
title!
all
And
about the mamas and the it's about the family in this.
it is indeed about it. Nothing more sadistic or more twisted than screwed up families.
Well,
Really.
seems like they're getting a lot of trauma stuff. Like last month we had the Killer Condom
Oh yeah,
release.
yeah. Killer
So
Condom, which is still probably one of their better releases, I think. That they've come up with in a
now they need to
while.
put out
Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet is the one
I
they need to do.
think they just so that we talked about this on the show once upon a time. The Toxic Avenger box set, I
Yeah,
think, is in collaboration with Vinegar Syndrome. I believe that
really?
they may have worked on the transfers for that
Maybe.
or
Yeah.
something like that. They had their hands, and then I think MVD did as well. But I think that set just came out or is making its way out relatively soon because I know Ryan from Disconnected got his hands on a copy and he watched it and reviewed it. Said it looks great. I mean, for what it is, being as low budget as it is, I mean, that's gonna look just crazy in 4K. Trome in 4K. Never knew I'd live to see the day.
Mm,
I don't know if you saw like the new
the
Toxic
new one.
Avenger that's coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you
Yeah. I saw
saw
the teaser for it.
the teaser for it.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting. But back to Rabid Grannies. This movie is exactly what you expect it to be with that title. I actually did get to watch this because I think it's on. Is it on Tubi? Yeah, it's somewhere around there. And man, it's about is exactly what you expect it to be. So
Is that
I'm
the
not even
noises
gonna
they're
read this
making?
because I don't think I need to. So every year, I guess these two women, their family celebrates their birthday together, and it just happens to be that this year one of their relatives is a Satanist, or is it the Satanism, or whatever the case may be. So he gives them some type of magical gift that turns them into zombies, and they proceed to kill the family.
Sure.
That is the
Uh huh.
movie. And the family has to try to survive against them. I think they turn other people into zombies. I don't know. The quality of the movie was so bad on even on Tubi that it was a struggle to see. But that's the premise of the movie. It's called Rabbit Grannies. What a title! What a
Love it,
title
man.
indeed.
I love it.
We've got another one here called Magic Crystal, which is another part of these kind of Asian film releases that Vinegar Syndrome's put out. Like they put out Righting Wrongs, they put out the Ringo Lam film that I know you have, Steven. What's it called? Burning
Burning Paradise.
Burning Paradise. And this is another one called Magic Crystal, starring Andy Lau, Cynthia Rothrock, Richard Norton. I did not get to see this, but I kind of wanted to. Um, I'm just fascinated by these films. It came out in 1986. Um, I've heard such crazy things about this movie.
Well, that more Suthio Rothrock is seems to be what is the most connective thing about this is that they've been putting out so much of her stuff.
Right, right. She's worked a
Um,
lot with Vinegar Syndrome. They've put out a
yeah,
lot of her movies. She kicks a lot of ass. Um, yeah. Next we've got something that's not actually that's a VSA release, but next we have something that um is not a Vinegar Syndrome release proper, but it is here, Steven. Is it on your list or no? Or is it just on their website?
it might be just on their website.
Yeah, it's
Is
from
this?
Distribpix, which I think isn't one of those.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not on the press release in
Yeah, it's
Blu-ray.com.
also not part of their bundle, but it's here on their site. So I don't know if I should include it here, but I guess I will. So Distribpix, it's a trilogy of films called the Flesh Trilogy. It's all directed by Michael Finley. It's on 2 discs, and we've got 3 movies here. It's hold on, it's this is really not making it easy on me. So we've got
Touch of Her Flesh.
yes, Touch of Her Flesh, The Curse of Her Flesh, and The Kiss of Her Flesh.
Love it.
These are all directed by Michael Finley.
And then, of course, they have some Halloween themed merch, which I think they've already sold out of all of it, at least in certain sizes. But I have their one from last year I love, so I don't need it. I didn't need to buy another one. But yeah,
You see the
that's
Night Train to Terror shirt? It's
yes, I
pretty.
did. It's pretty
That's
dope.
that's one you wear to church.
That's
Nice.
it. Of course you do.
Family functions.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Just anything
Thanksgiving.
that's the funerals.
Yeah.
Um,
And then they got the yeah, Vinegar Syndrome Metal Devil. That's such a great concept of a shirt. Um, but let's move over now to the partner label stuff. Um, we got ourselves quite a few partner labels. I think
oh,
was it
jeez.
like 14
It's
releases?
actually smaller than usual. If you think about it in the normal sense, usually it's like 19
Yeah,
partner label.
it's 14.
Yeah.
Um,
So
let's
yeah,
get
we
into
got
them.
Yellow Veil Pictures has got a film called a shackle till I can't speak.
It's
Uh
Ashkal, the Tunisian Investigation.
yeah. Um which looks cool. I kind of was looking
I
into
like
that
that
one.
cover.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do like that cover. There's a lot of newer films in this slate too, so keep that in mind. There's some of these are pretty new. Um Altered Innocence has Astrakan. Deaf Crocodile's got Cat City. Canadian International Pictures has East End Hustle.
Did you notice that it's their first 4K release?
I did not.
Yes, it's their first 4K release.
Hell yeah. Um, Agfa's got the God Monster of Indian Flats. I mean, that's a whole lot of
Yeah,
something.
it's a giant mutated sheep.
It's a whole lot of something. Factory 25, Happier's Comet or Happier's Comet. Saturn's Core. We have a double feature, Hayride Slaughter and Halloween Horrors. Umbrella Entertainment's also got a double feature. We have Inn of the Damned and Night of Fear. From the film desk, we have I'm going to say the English title. You can say the I guess that's French.
Yes.
The War is Over, and the French title is
La guerre est finie,
nice.
which is The War is Over. That's an Alain Resnais film. Alain Resnais, who directed last year Marienbad, as well as a couple of other films that are in the Criterion Collection. That actually surprised the hell out of me when I saw that.
Yeah.
But we got a couple of other ones here.
Dark Star has Larry Clark's Marfa Girl 1 and 2. We have ETR Media Pretending I'm Superman, the story of Tony Hawk video game. I'm sure that's already sold out.
It's still has copies left.
I'm surprised. These ETRs about video games and things like this, like, is usually
the
sold
one
out
for GoldenEye sold out very quickly.
like within a day. But VHS Hit Fest or VHS Shit Fest Psycho Paul's Film Festival, which I guess is probably a bunch of shorts by a certain micro budget filmmaker. I'm sure we'll get into it. And what the hell, man? Here we go. I lost my page for a second.
Oh,
Utopia. We have Squaring the Circle, the story of hi- not
Hypnosis.
hypnosis. Is that how you spell hypnosis with a G?
It's yeah, the G throws people
Oh
off.
yeah, that threw me off there. Decalogue. We have The Taking, and that is it. That is it. That is our
Yes,
14
yes,
partner label releases.
we
Uh,
do.
what did you watch?
Man, oh man. So let me go to my letterbox. So I got to see um East End East End Hustle, Marfa Girl 1 and 2, Pretending I'm a Superman, the Tony Hawk video game story, and Cat City. I already saw the Umbrella release because those were two films that they had already released in Australia. So we covered those when they were released through there. So I had to see both of those. But let's start off with the Canadian international release. I mean that's usually like that's a pretty high priority for me or for us really because we know such good work that they do there.
Yeah.
East End Hustle. Apparently this movie has never really gotten any type of proper release at all, which I guess is the case for most of the stuff they put out, if not all the stuff they put out. This is an interesting 80s film. Came out, well, 1976 actually. I'm a little way off. So Cindy is outraged by the sadism of her pimp boyfriend Dan, so she turns her back on him and her seedy profession. As he attempts to lure her back, she doubles down on the rebellion by liberating new recruit Marianne and giving safe haven to several of Dan's most prized employees, crippling his business. As his gang of frustrated sex workers waits for the dust to settle, Dan grows incensed, escalating the dispute into a full-blown war, leading into his mafia connections and insatiable appetite for violence. Dan orders vicious retaliation, but Cindy has some vengeful tricks up her sleeve. So we've got this movie about the underworld of sex working, in the 70s. It's abusive. It's obviously completely imbalanced of power at all, where these women basically are at the whim of these very sadistic pimps. And this movie is kind of exploring this rebellion that's going on between these two factions and between these two groups. It's very interesting, kind of understated film. This isn't a gang war movie that you see with like a mafia movie or something like that. There's not going to be shootouts in the streets or warfare or anything like that. It's more of a mind war game, if you will. Interesting film that I'm curious to um, revisit in better quality. Because the version I watched obviously was probably from a VHS tape from the 80s for all I know. It's very understated film, and probably not great acting, not great directing, but the film and the story of it I think needs to be watched in better quality, I guess, to really understand it more so. And in typical fashion, we're getting this is their first 4K release, so it's going to be a 4K disc. It's getting presented in HDR, newly scanned, restored in 4K. So if anything, it's going to look good, like I just said. Audio commentary, a new interview with writer director. We got a bunch of other new stuff here. So this is a nice little package they've got going here. Booklet featuring an essay by Alexandra Heller Nicholas. Perhaps she could give us some insight on this movie. Um, there's an interview with Lloyd Kaufman on here as well, which is
Damn.
rather fascinating to me. So yes, this is very much part of the Canuxploitation part of Canadian cinema. Um, yeah, a very interesting movie. That's very much a time capsule piece too, for like the mid to late 70s, and the area and the subject matter in which the movie um is involved in. Next is Deaf Crocodile. With Cat City, I finally got my chance to see a Deaf Crocodile release without having to hunt too hard for it. So, Cat City is a Hungarian animated film from 1986, directed by Bela Tarnovsky. Um, what an incredibly fun movie to watch. When I was on Letterboxd, apparently a lot of people saw this when they were a kid. I never had heard of it until now. It's a
Hmm.
movie with anthropomorphic cats and mice. And of course, in typical fashion, they're at war with one another. One lives in, you know, one lives and runs Cat City. One lives and runs Mouse City, and they live on this planet called Planet X. And as I said, it takes place 88 years AMM, and AMM stands for After Mickey Mouse. Don't ask me why.
Jeez.
And it's in like some dystopian future with mice and cats. It's an animated film, and the cats are just about to annihilate the mice. Like they want to make them go extinct or something. It's pretty dark for a kids type of movie. But the mice have this secret plan that's gonna save them, and but they need to go and get these plans from this doctor in like I think it's Tokyo. It's like Toko Mouse City or something like that. It's basically Tokyo, but the mouse version of Tokyo. So they send one of their secret agents, and his name is Gary. And
Gary,
his name was
we need
Gary.
to send our best man.
And the thing
Get
is, like, he's like
Gary.
a secret agent who's like not their best, but he's like retired. But I guess like their best agent who's they call him like 070 instead of 007, apparently like quit, so they have to send in Gary. So they send Gary to like get these plans. And but of course the cats don't want Gary to get these plans. They don't want the mice to get this weapon. So the cats hire this like group of three like assassin cat people who are really, really dumb at their job, basically. This is kind of reminds me of like a weird version of like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon meets like 1980s um like hand drawn art, like something like An American Tail or American Land Before Time, that type of hand drawn art, but actually kind of more crude than that, really. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's an hour and a half, lots of fun animated film. I got to watch it in English with an English dub, which was kind of nice. I'm curious if this is coming with like the original Hungarian soundtrack or not, but you've got a ton of special features on here. We got new audio commentary, new essay by film critics. We got three animated shorts by the director as well. There was actually a sequel to this that I think they made in the 2000s. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of special features on here. This is a pretty cool release. I really dug it. I really dug it. So that's
Awesome.
Cat City from Deaf Crocodile. Now let me get into more. Let me just switch. Let me flip the switch here. Marfa Girl 1 and 2 by Larry Clark. Here we go. So Larry Clark, very controversial director, very unique director, 90s indie film director. We talked a little bit about him when Kids was released on Blu-ray by Umbrella, I believe. So if you know the movie Kids, if you know the movie Bully, which was also done by Larry Clark, if you just know Larry Clark's reputation as being this indie raw film director whose films are very much don't hold back in a lot of ways, you'll understand what these types of movies are. These movies are actually even probably more raw, more minimal than his other films are, at least I've seen. So Marfa Girl, the first film, is centered around Marfa, Texas, a real place. Marfa, Texas is actually where they shot um, um, Giant, which was James Dean's last film. Doesn't that has nothing to do with this movie at all? That's just a little trivia for you there.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Adrian.
it's about these people living in Marfa, Texas, who have really nothing, like they're living nothing lives. As harsh as that is to say, they're living nothing lives. Their lives are just dead end nothingness. And it really centers around this one kid who's just turning 16, takes place predominantly on his 16th birthday. You see him having uh, sexual relationships with several women, both appropriately his age and then not appropriately his age. And if you know Larry Clark, his the way in which he films his sex scenes are very raw, feel very real, sometimes unsimulated in many of his films. So yeah, you get a lot of Larry Clark stuff going on in this movie. Um, so it's about this young boy. I would say it's a coming of age film. Not really, because he's not really coming to anything. And I think that's kind of the point of it. It's all of the people in and around him kind of living dead end lives and kind of nothingness going on. And it's kind of a social commentary, I guess, on that small town on unescapism, really. Um, and there's a lot of that going on. The biggest issue I saw with a lot of people had with this movie and myself as well, a lot of the movie has non-professional actors and then some professional actors, and you can tell the difference. Like, it's glaringly obvious who is a professional, who's not really a professional. So some of the acting is really bad. Some of the dialogue is really bad. A lot of people assume that this movie had no script and it was just a lot of it was improvisation. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. There's a lot of people having conversations that just go on, and I feel like they're just saying things to fill up time and air. But there's times in this movie where some of the imagery and some of the non-dialogue scenes are so sentimentally beautiful and say so much without saying anything that I'm like, that's really good. That's damn
Mm,
good. And then people try to act and try to recite lines, and I'm like, that's not
that's
good.
that's not good.
You know, it's like the seesaw
Do
back and
the other th
forth is like
do the other
give
thing.
me whiplash. um, but but yeah, so it's a very interesting movie. It came out in 2012, premiered at the Rome Film Festival, and apparently won like a top prize at the Rome Film Festival. And initially, it was only available to stream via a website that Larry Clark had set up. Apparently, he made this movie purposely because he wanted to make a movie that people would stream. Because at the time, back in the early 2010s, streaming movies and making movies direct to streaming was starting to become a thing. And he wanted to tap into that or even exploit that, if you will. So that's kind of what he did. For years, this movie had no DVD release at all, or anything, but eventually did. Now it's getting a Blu-ray release. Marfa Girl 2, which came out in 2018, is a direct sequel. The events in that movie take place like a year after the events in the first movie. The first movie is about an hour and a half. The second movie is an hour and 17 minutes long. Second movie, not as good as the first. Second movie picks up our characters from where they kind of ended in the first film, but I felt like it did less meaningful work than the first film in many of its regards. Lost a lot of what I liked about the first film, made them try to act more, try to give them more dialogue, more scenes like that, and it just a lot of it didn't work for me. And the ending really put me off on the movie in many ways. But yeah, it's Larry Clark, so it's going to be controversial. It's going to be up and down. Um, but yeah, interesting indie work from him. Ever the controversial director, Larry Clark's work. And this is unfortunately coming with not much in the way of special features. All we get is the commentary with director Larry Clark, which I kind of thought was a surprise that there was
Mm.
even a commentary on here. He doesn't seem like a director who would let his work be commented on, officially by others. Kind of like, what David Lynch does. David Lynch really doesn't
Yeah.
like do special features and stuff like that. Some other stuff I want to point out here, some other releases. The Pretending I'm Superman, the Tony Hawk video game story is available to stream on Peacock. You can stream it there. It's a movie about the making of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. That's a documentary about that.
Hmm.
If you grew up with those
I did.
video games, Steven, I don't know if you played them when
I
you were a
did I
kid.
did a lot, yes.
Yeah, I spent hours on that first game.
Yeah.
Days on that first game over and over again. Um, I the soundtrack for that game still plays in my head sometimes. That's how much it was
It's
innately
it's
into
odd.
me.
Right.
Uh, and so it's a little bit about Tony Hawk. It's a little bit about the video game. It's a little bit about skateboarding culture in the '90s and how the games influence that, and how the games influence people now, and the popularity of skateboarding. All of those things. It's about an hour and 11 minutes long. They kind of go over and over the same topics over and over again sometimes, and I'm just like, we've covered this already. What do we got to move on? But it's fine. It's fine. Tony Hawk's a cool dude. Um, some other stuff I wanted to talk about. Um, like I said, La Guerre est finie, The War is Over, Alain René's film. It's a French film from 1966. Alain René, he directed films, like I said, Last Year at Marienbad, Hiroshima, Mon Amour, Muriel, or The Time of Return, Night and Fog. All four of those films are in the Criterion Collection. Night and Fog is a documentary about the Holocaust. Incredible documentary, very short, If you have the Criterion channel, it's only 32 minutes long, and it's powerful, powerful. Um, and Hiroshi Monomura is brilliant. Last year, Marion Bard's a mind trip. So yeah, I was really surprised to see him pop up on here. I wasn't expecting that at all. I've never seen this movie, but I now really, really want this release. Um, and I don't think I've bought anything by the Film Desk. They're relatively new.
Yeah, yeah. I've only had a few releases.
Yeah, and only 1,000 copies, and there are currently 579 available. Some other documentaries in here, actually. There's another one in here that I wanted to see but didn't get a chance to see, and that is from Decalogue, The Taking. The Taking is a documentary by Alexander O. Felipe. This is a documentary about Monument Valley. Monument Valley being famously where a lot of westerns were made. Western films were made, specifically the films of John Ford. If you've ever seen a John Ford movie, you've seen Monument Valley. It's a real place you can go visit today, and that's where they shot so many westerns. Um, yeah, I really wanted to see that just because I love movies that have to do with movie making. And this one is specifically is about something that I know very, very well. So this came out in 2021, so it's fairly new, fairly new.
Awesome.
Um, so there was another one in here by Anton Corbin that I wanted to see, or did I? Oh yeah, it was Squaring the Circle: The Story of Hypnosis. Now, Steven, you may be into this. The
Okay.
reason being is this is a documentary about um tells the story of Storm Thorgerson and Aubrey Popal, the creator geniuses behind the iconic album art design studio Hypnosis. So they created album art, record album art designs for decades. Chief among them, for me, is Dark Side of the Moon, the
Mm,
Pink Floyd album art, which has that prism with the rainbow through it. It's my
yeah.
favorite. My favorite Pink Floyd album is Dark Side of the Moon. I've got the vinyl. I've got the CD. Just a brilliant album. So this documentary is all about, I guess, the history of them designing um, albums, and they've worked with people like Peter Gabriel, Led Zeppelin, Paul McCartney, like I said, Pink Floyd. Yeah, they've got interviews in here from Roger Waters, David Gilmour, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, Paul McCartney, Peter Gabriel. Yeah, and Anton Corbin is a director. I think he directed a movie called Control. Um,
Mm,
from of course, when you type in Control on IMDb, you might as well type in the word "the" because they're just going to give you it'll give you so
yeah.
much. But he directed the 2007 movie Control. Um, and I remember seeing a few of this guy's film. He directed the movie A Most Wanted Man, which I think may have been one of Philip Seymour Hoffman's
It's his
last
last movie.
films.
I believe
Yeah.
that's his last starring movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie Control is the profile of Ian Curtis, the enigmatic singer of Joy Division, whose personal, professional, and romantic troubles led him to commit suicide at the age of 23. I'm pretty sure many people have seen the cover of the album for one of Joy Division's albums. Um, yeah, so this is very, very interesting to me. So I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
to point that out. Did anything else on here look interesting to you, Steven?
Um, you know, I didn't, we didn't get a lot of time to look at
No, not
all
really.
this. But you kind of touched on the ones that seemed the most interesting to me. But with more time, some of these are other ones like the Altered Innocence always has something interesting. In their release here of Astrika,
Yeah, Astrakhan. Yeah.
Astrakhan looks kind of, they're always coming of age stories. So there's
Mm,
probably something here that I would be
yeah, I'm
interested
reading the
in.
premise right now, and it sounds like a really interesting coming of age story.
Yeah,
Yeah, their last several movies
yeah,
have
they're
been
good.
really good.
When Samuel, a young orphan, is sent to live with foster parents Mary and Clement, he gradually forced to face the demons that exist both internally and in his new family. So yeah, I mean, and it's definitely another coming of age type of story,
Coming of age, existential crises at a
and it's a
you
newer
know.
film. It's from 2022, so
Mm,
getting some more stuff that probably is hard to find.
yeah,
So
Yeah, I did like the title though. Hayride Slaughter is just a bafflingly on the nose title.
Well, so is the other one,
You
Halloween Horrors.
Halloween Horrors. I wonder what that's about.
Okay, is that
Did you see the cover of Hayride Slaughter?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah,
I
that sounds
I don't
about
see any
right.
hay there.
It's a double dose of vintage-themed SOV mayhem, courtesy of director Gary Whiteson and his notorious New Jersey-based studio Wave Productions. Yep, sounds like super low budget, shot on video, horror film. What is interesting is one movie is from 1992 and the other one is from 2001, like 10 years apart nearly. Um, that looks like something really fun to watch, like, closer to Halloween.
Yeah. I
I
I I
know
start to I start to wonder sometimes if they, like,
schedule it
get
out purposely.
no, what I'm like, some of these movies, like, did they, like, go to some house that is being auctioned off, and then they went into the closet and found some, like, home movies, and they're like, "We're gonna fucking make this into a release." Like, that's what it feels like sometimes, like,
I don't know. I know we've interviewed many, several people from some of these labels, and I don't know what
I don't
database,
know what
how
brings
they
you to
find some of
these
these.
things,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
I don't know where they find them because these seem like films that you can only like you had to be around at the time
Yeah, to
to
know that
know
they
about them, and you had
exist.
to be in a specific location, you know, because back in the 90s, pre-internet, none of this information you could
Yeah,
really
was that
gather
yeah.
around, like there was no like internet forums, there was no news sites that would talk about any of these things. So it's like, where do you even hear about any of them? It must be from years later, looking back in retrospect, or you just hear from a friend of a friend of a friend and his uncle. You know what I mean? It just baffles me how they find
Yeah, I
these.
don't know how they did it.
um, yeah. So this is once again a solid slate from the partner labels.
I yeah.
You know,
I was gonna say it's, to me, maybe one of the least interesting partner label groups that I've,
mm,
for me personally, like, not that I mean, I have to do some more research on this, but
right.
just on the surface, there's not as much here that I'm like,
I gotta have
"Okay."
right now.
Yeah, there's not really yeah.
I did keep up with the how well they're selling, how fast they're selling. Most of them, there's nothing that's sold out really quick. You know how usually every month there's a partner label or a couple of titles that
Yeah.
sell out like fast. Like by the time we get to recording, some of them are already sold out of limited editions.
Yeah.
So far as I know, it's only been a day, like 24 hours, but nothing is really even close to selling out, like below 500 copies. I don't think.
Yeah.
Um, but some of these are look rather fascinating. Also, we are getting very close to the Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
And granted, a lot of these are not going to be on sale, so perhaps people are maybe
Holding back their money.
saving
Yeah.
some money because they know that sale is on the horizon, and there will be partner label titles available. Um, Probably older ones, probably ones from
I think they
last
go back,
year.
like, I think they go back 6 months at least, I think, or
Yeah,
something like that.
so that would be earlier this year.
June,
Yeah,
June to May area
and then there
releases,
probably,
yeah.
stuff from last year, the year before that's still in stock. There's still a couple of titles I have my eye on that I check every once in a while to make sure they're still there.
Yeah.
There's some of them are still holding on, a little under 100, so I'm a little weary, but, I gotta wait, gotta hold
Yep.
out for Black Friday. Hopefully the mainstream Black Friday sales are better this year than in the recent years. I feel like
That's,
that's been slacking.
I was gonna say good luck with that shit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
shouldn't hold out hope. It's a fool's hope, really.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
those days when we had it good, where you could, every Blu-ray was under $8. Every, 4Ks were $10, and they had like boxes of them like laid out like throughout the whole store. Nowadays, it's like the last couple of years, it's like one little standy section here and there, and
yeah.
it's just like nothing
I went in like a couple days after, and it was like everything was gone. I was like,
because
okay,
it wasn't a lot.
there wasn't a lot of stock.
Like,
Yeah,
I used to go to 2 different stores, 3 different stores. I used to try to hit Best Buy, Walmart, and Target because they were all right next to each other. I used to try to hit all of them at once, and now I'm like, "There's nothing." And there's
yeah.
absolutely no reason to do that anymore. Damn sad. I just can't get over
Hmm.
that Target's getting rid of it completely, as if the writing wasn't already on the wall. Um,
Well,
Damn shame.
Yep.
But that should be about it for episode spy number 118, right, Steven?
It is. Thanks everybody for joining us. Of course, as always, I'm going to change it up. You can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter/X at Kevzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels, which we just did our Unwatched Pile, our new episode number 5, where it was me and Steven, of course, and then our buddy Douglas McCambridge from, what's his podcast called, Steven?
Good Times, Great Movies.
Good Times, Great Movies. Yes, and we took a movie off of our Unwatched Pile, talked about it, and then paired it up with something interesting.
Yeah. It was good. Another good episode. Always love doing that show. And then you can find me on, I was about to say Podbean. This is what happens when you do it out of order, Stephen.
It is.
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, the other Chasing Labels pages, Instagram, X, and also on our Facebook group. Me and Andrew, we're both in there. Come join us. We'll let you in. Have some fun talking some Blu-ray announcements. That is it for this episode. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.